Rand, I need another episode of Fully Cinematic.
If you saw the thumbnail and can read, then you know that this is a review of the worst person in the world. If you don't have those skills and you don't speak Norwegian, then this movie is probably a waste of your time because it has wall-to-wall subtitles. We're told at the outset that the movie is broken down into 12 chapters, a prologue, and an epilogue. Here we go with the bullshit. And each chapter has a title. We begin with Julie, our title character, a 29-year-old medical student in Oslo, Norway, who's certainly not the worst person in the world, but she lets us know right away that she is a tool. Not long after she appears on screen, she judges her classmates and somewhat hypocritically describes them as cultivating eating disorders. Now, ain't that the praying mantis calling the hostage skinny? We're told that Julie's primary motivation for going to med school was the fact that it was difficult to get into. All right, calm down, Madam Curie. She also starts getting private tutoring sessions with one of her professors. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, she's hit with a bolt of inspiration that leads her to conclude that she's actually more interested in the human soul than in the human body. So she gives her boyfriend the pink slip, tries her hand at photography, and lets an off-brand Tyson Beckford put her in the Cobra clutch before leaving him for a 44-year-old celebrity comics artist, famous for creating a popular character named Bobcat, who's basically a bobcat who gets into shit. Before long, the comics guy, Aksel, drops her like she's hot. Julie, being the mature, rational person that she is, falls in love with him at the exact moment that he dumps her. This all brings us to chapter 1. Soon, Aksel ignores his better judgment and takes his on-again girlfriend, Julie, on a vacation trip to his parents' house. When broke Stan Lee reveals that he'd like to have kids one day, Julie is annoyed and they get into an argument. One night, while everybody's having a good time and scrubbing the ground to a Marie, a lady, I don't remember who she is, accidentally bumps her head on a light fixture when her husband picks her up. That immediately kills the party, and for the rest of the night, this dingbat bitches about hitting her head and blames everybody else, including Julie, for turning on the music for what happened. The next day, while everyone's gathered around the table, fake Stan Lee and another guy discuss men's health issues. Julie then complains about the fact that menstruation isn't a more common conversation topic and blames men for this predicament. In response, an older dude at the table calls Julie out for womansplaining. Chapter 2. Julie crashes a party where she tells a young mother she doesn't know that her kids are sure to grow up to be drug addicts because she cuddles them too much. Soon after, she meets a guy, Eivind, and the two of them flirt until morning. They bite each other, smell each other's armpits, discuss sex, and pee in front of each other. Romance in the 21st century. Julie tells him her first name, but doesn't want to know any more details about it because she says that otherwise she won't be able to stop herself from stalking him online. Chapter 3. After writing an essay about orals, Aksel encourages Julie to post it online. Chapter 4. Julie and Stan attend her 30th birthday party at her mom's house. Almost forgot, Grandma's there too. Julie's dad doesn't show. A couple of other people stop by the next day. Little cousins, I don't know, and wish her a happy belated birthday. A few days after that, the happy couple visits Julie's dad, and she asks him if he read her post. Why would he? And Dad tells her that the link she sent wouldn't work. I don't blame him. Chapter 5. Eivind and his girl happen to come into the bookstore where Julie works part-time, and after they leave, Eivind rushes back to tell Julie that he hasn't been able to forget her. He wants to exchange contact info, and he has to make it quick because he told his girl that he lost his shades and needed to go back inside to get them. When Julie gets home, Aksel starts making conversation while she zones out and imagines that time stopped for most of the world, allowing her to run across town like an idiot to the coffee shop where Eivind works to give him a big fat wet one. They then spend all day and night together hanging out. The next morning, Julie runs back home where she tunes back into what Aksel was saying, and time resumes for the rest of the world. Before bootleg Stan Lee can finish his sentence, Julie dumps him. Ain't that a bitch? This simp pleads, cries, and gets pissed off. And when Stan asks, Julie lies about the fact that she met someone. So then he calls her out on her daddy issues, and then Julie cries and says that she's afraid to be alone in general and to live without him specifically. So then Stan puts her in the tombstone pile driver one last time, and Julie leaves. Chapter 6. For the first time, we get the story from someone aside from Julie. We see Eivind and his girl, Sunneva, hiking in the Finnmark Highlands, whatever that bush is. Not far from their tent, she sees a reindeer, and for some reason, Blitzen allows Sunneva to pet him, and this prompts her to become an eco-activist, radically changing her and Eivind's lifestyle, which is what drives him to Julie in the first place. Chapter 7. Eivind gets to know Julie better, and they move in together. Julie cyberstalks Sunneva and becomes jealous of her thirst traps on Instagram. Chapter 8. Eivind and Julie get zooted on mushrooms with some friends, which causes Julie to strip and to have a series of hallucinations, including hallucinating that she's 600-pound light fat and breastfeeding a baby. She sees her dad and her ex-boyfriends. And then things get weird. Julie removes a used tampon and throws it at her dad. What the In reality, she smears her own blood on her face like eye black. Chapter 9. While Julie's doing cardio at the gym, she sees Dollar Store Stan Lee getting grilled by two womanists on TV about Bobcatsism. Chapter 10. Aksel's brother bumps into Julie and informs her that Aksel has pancreatic cancer that was discovered too late. Meanwhile, Eivind comes across an essay or something that Julie wrote, and when he compliments her writing, she flips on him and complains that he doesn't read and has no ambition. What the Lady, you're a part-time cashier at a bookstore. Instead of fighting back, though, Eivind takes the high road and walks off. You know, Eivind, you really can't pickle. Chapter 11. Sometime later, Julie finds out that she's pregnant and visits Aksel in the hospital the day before his surgery. She tells him that she cut ties with her father, but also he never bothered to chase her anyway. Stan reminisces about the old days, like buying albums from record stores, and says that he has no legacy and confesses that he fears death. Wow, this took a pretty dark turn. Julie responds with some rigmarole about not having anyone who she can talk to the way that they used to. You do remember that you're the one who broke up with him, right? Not to mention the fact that he's dying from cancer. Anyway, Julie confides that she's afraid of motherhood, and Stan encourages her to keep the baby if the father is nice. They lie in bed together and both admit to having imagined conversations with the other one. When Stan asks Julie if she met Eivind before breaking up with him, she tells the truth. And she claims to be happy about the pregnancy, but Stan sees through it and calls her out on running when things get tough. Julie goes home that night and finally reveals the pregnancy to Ragnar and dumps him. Chapter 12. Finally, Stan takes Julie to his childhood home, and later, she has a miscarriage in the shower and is relieved. Julie works as a photographer on a movie set during COVID, and the lead actress turns out to be the mother of Eivind's child. Fade to black. The Worst Person in the World was selected to be Norway's entry for the Best International Feature Film at this year's Oscars, and critics have been slobbering all over it, so it just might win. It's the conclusion of director Joachim Trier's Oslo trilogy, and star Renata Rensvi's first on-screen role consisted of a single line in the first film in the series, 2011's Oslo, August 31st. That movie star, Anders Danielsen Lee, plays Aksel in this one. Weirdly enough, most, if not all, of the lyrics to the songs played throughout the film are in English, including One Thing and The Way You Look Tonight. Now that that's out of the way, let's get down to business. Despite the title, the movie's a little like Julie herself. Not the worst in the world, but nowhere near great either. It's an overlong, self-indulgent, navel-gazing, coming-of-age story about a self-absorbed grown-up. She's 30. In other news, we got a few comments on our recent review of The King's Daughter, and I figured I'd highlight a couple. Quiet Storm said, "Rand, I just hollered. You're a fool for this one. Now I want to watch it just to see how bad it really is." Well, Quiet Storm, don't say I didn't warn you. Danielle M. said, "This movie looks stupid. Thanks for the confirmation." No problem, Danielle M. I aim to please. Even my co-host John chimed in. He said, "Good review, Rand, but what kind of trash is this? LOL. Definitely will be staying away from this one. I'd recommend it, John." Shout out to Quiet Storm, Danielle M., and John for the comments. Keep them coming. Well, I had enough of this conversation. I'm logging off.
Fully cinematic.